The gunman who shot dead 51 people in 2 mosques in New Zealand has come face to face with some of his victims' families. The bereaved and some of the injured gave accounts of the murders last March ahead of sentencing, which is expected to take place on Thursday. The gunman could face life in prison without parole.
Brought in, bound hand and foot by shackles, Tarrant offered a stern, defiant look and heard Muslim prayers. The message in court from mothers, daughters, fathers and sons of Tarrant's victims. You caused us pain, but you, white supremacists, lost.
And you thought you can break us. You failed miserably. We became more determined to hold tight to Islam, and our beloved ones are martyrs.
Maysoon Salama's son was gunned down with 50 others in March of last year. Brenton Tarrant drove to a mosque and started shooting, then moved on to another Muslim house of worship to continue his rampage. Families, indeed the entire nation, mourned the murderous acts of a 29-year-old Australian man who prosecutors say planned every move for maximum carnage.
What I can say is that it is clear that this is one of New Zealand's darkest days.
New Zealanders today, as then, offered support for the families of the Muslim victims, often using the indigenous Maori phrase,
Kia kaha, be strong, you know.
Just stay strong. Waited so long for this moment, so hopefully you get justice.
Kia kaha, we're all with you and thinking of you and your families, and we're here for you.
Just know that we're all supporting you, from the sidelines.
Back in court, prayers for the victims and also for the perpetrator. Great sorrow and defiance.
No words can describe what my heart experienced at that time and still experiencing. It is only the remembrance of Allah that keeps me going.
The heart is broken because we are not broken. We are come more united. From just you make that.
Tarrant faces life sentences for the murder and terrorism charges, and the judge has the power to imprison him for the killings without the possibility of parole.
I'm now joined by our reporter Miles Tweedy in Wellington, who is following events for us there. Relatives of the victims and survivors had the opportunity to speak in court, as we've seen. How would you describe the atmosphere in that courtroom?
Well, as we just saw in the report there, Tarrant entered the courtroom heavily shackled, his wrists and ankles, and he was surrounded by police officers. When the session got underway, there was some deeply emotional scenes where 24 of the victims had the opportunity to testify in front of court as to the effect that the attack had on their lives. And while most were defiant, there was obviously a lot of trauma still there amongst those who testified.
The images that we've seen in our report there, Brenton Tarrant hardly displayed any emotions. Did he show any kind of remorse at all?
Well, the gunman reportedly showed little emotion throughout the day. However, there was one moment where the mother of one man who was killed by the gunman, she directed her attention to him and spoke to him directly, and she said she forgave him for killing her son. And she said she had no hate or desire for revenge. Now, Tarrant apparently reportedly nodded in response and then blinked heavily and then wiped his eye following the exchange. So there was some level of maybe possibly something there.
He already has pleaded guilty and is facing a life sentence, possibly without parole. Will he speak in court?
Well, the gunman dismissed his legal counsel earlier this year, and he's chosen to represent himself, which has led many to speculate that he may try at some point, try and grandstand or send some kind of message out to who knows what. Now, authorities have taken steps to try and avoid that or to prevent that from happening. They've limited the number of journalists in the courtroom, allowed in the courtroom, to 10, and they're only allowed to report twice a day, once at lunchtime and then once later on in the day. But there's definitely no absolute way of preventing him from saying something. So we'll just have to see what happens in the coming days.
Miles Tweedy there, thank you very much.